Hello, everyone. My name is Fred Vallis. I'm one of the co-founders here at Optimizer, and I'm really happy you're joining us today because we're going to do something pretty amazing. We're going to take a look at some landing pages here and tell you how to improve the conversion rate. So this is not PPC specific. This is not about how to make your Google Ads account better, but obviously if you have a crappy landing page, you're going to get great results from Google Ads or Bing Ads or Amazon Ads. So that's what this session is all about. Let's fix those landing pages, let's fix those websites, and then we can make our PPC perform better as well. And so here to help us with this topic today is an old friend of ours, Tim Ash. I got to meet him back in my days at Google. Tim, I think it was probably about 15 years ago, if not 20 years ago. But yeah, you basically came in and helped a lot of Google advertisers improve their website. You've written a number of books on this. So nobody better than you to help lead us through this session. And this is going to be a fun one because we're actually taking the submissions that people put in when they registered. And so we're going to be looking at websites that belong to some of you on this call. And Tim, I don't know if you chose the optimized website as well, but we submitted that one for the list. So with that, welcome, and go ahead and introduce yourself and do yourself a bit more justice, and then we'll get started.
Oh, all right. Well, thank you, Fred. Tim Ash here. Glad to have all of you join me. As Fred mentioned, yeah, we've known each other a long time, but we've been around the block, and I do have a lot of relevant experience in PPC advertising since I used to run a PPC agency, and then we switched over to doing conversion rate optimization to make landing pages and websites more effective because we saw those as very complementary activities. So one word of warning, I'm not known for my bedside manner on these public webinars. I'm actually much kinder on the paid website reviews that I do, but we're here to learn. So I'm going to pack in as much as I can, get through as many of the websites that were submitted, and I'll try to make these lessons general enough so that all of you can benefit from the observations that we're making. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A pane, not the chat window, but the Q&A window, and Frederick will relay some of those to me, and I'll try to work them in as well. Okay, so don't hesitate to put some questions in. All right, and I'm not doing these in any particular order, and I'm not going to focus on the good stuff too much. I'm going to talk about what's wrong and how to fix it. Okay, so just some quick tips, rapid fire. Here we go, and stay tuned at the end. I'll have something interesting for you. Okay, so the first site we have here, the page that was submitted, was a product detail page. And I have to say that the production quality here looks good. There's a clean shot of the product. It generally lays out well. We've all seen these product detail pages. I think that it's really important on a page like this, though, to emphasize that the product is solid. And all of us have reviews, but if we look at kind of the size of the little review arrows here, it's very, very small on the page. And we really don't, if you have 5,000 plus reviews and they're 4.5 star rated, you really want to emphasize that. You don't want to just kind of say meekly, we have a bunch of reviews. So that's important. The other thing I find here is that this is a consumable product, obviously, and you're giving the option of doing either a one-time purchase or a subscription. So probably if you want them to use it up and they'll reorder, it's both a convenience for them and also money saving. So you want them to get to a subscription. My guess is that the subscription is worth a lot more than the one-time purchase person. So you want to get them into the subscription part, but you're making it seem like they're only saving a little bit of money, $44 versus $38. No big deal. I don't want to take the risk of signing up for it. But in the free shipping is also kind of de-emphasized. So what you want to do is really, really make it biased towards the subscription. And you want to say something like, okay, so if they save what, $7 per purchase times 12 months, you know, you're like saving $80 a year and saving an additional $30 in free shipping, you know, so, and you want to visually emphasize the subscription option and not the one-time deal. Okay, so those are some quick pointers on that, and let's go on. Flypaper, this is apparently a digital marketing agency. And I say that apparently because I'm going to look at all these websites fresh with a naive perspective. I don't care, just like most of your website visitors don't care. And it's not clear what this is. What you have is a page that's literally a waste of space. I mean, there's a lot of white space. I know you're trying to be hip and have diagonal lines in your design, but I don't even know what you do. So I think that there's a lot of this kind of style over substance that I see on a lot of websites, not just this one. And I've been guilty of it at times as well, and some of our past designs. So I just want to say that you want to actually take all this other information that's further down the page, like your services, like the fact that you're partnered with Shopify and HubSpot and so on. Those things need to be higher up on the page. And when you're talking about any professional services firm, I'd say that trust is really, really important. And based on this page, I don't know that there's any trust. I mean, it's clear that it could have been made with a template builder. Anybody can stand up one of these. Do you have clients? How long have you been in business? Who's your team? If I'm buying a professional services firm, first and foremost, you have to be credible. And this page doesn't have that much credibility in my mind.
Hey,
Okay,
Tim,
so I think, yeah.
Fred here, I'm interjecting. I have a question. So it looks like the domain is customers who stick, but the company name is Flypaper.
Yes, I noticed that too. Yeah, that's the domain that was submitted. I don't know if flypaper.com also goes to this, but if the name of the company is Flypaper, then the domain should match that. That's a great point. So we have Flypaper here, but the domain is customers who stick. Yeah, great point. Let's go on. I want to contrast this. Actually, looks like we have some agency folks here in the audience. This is Buzztronic's website. This, as you can see, is a little different. There's actually content visible on the page. There's a traditional nav bar. And this might be a small shop. It might be just Jason here, okay, and he's the expert. If that's the case, I'd want a little more than just the, how would you say, just the black and white picture of him standing in front of a brick building. So if you're a Google Ads expert, instructor, and podcaster, I'd want to know about those things. So again, you're selling yourself, and in the above the fold portion of the page, you should kind of not focus so much about what makes us different, or what makes me different in this case, but rather on the credentials. The trust has to precede the conversation. For example, when I do webinars or when I do video calls, my background wall is all of my keynote badges, a couple of hundred of them from all around the world in the last 15 years that I've done public speaking. That way, as soon as the video turns on, the trust is preceding the conversation. They see those trust badges. So you have to kind of do the same thing. And then down the page, you have some stuff. You have client results. That's a form of trust, right? So that should be maybe elevated to up higher. Presumably you have a client list and you work with clients, but I don't see that without going into about us perhaps, or some other deeper part of the page. So make it easy for me to find that information. You really don't have any clients listed on this, and I think that's a problem. And then something that you put into the footer is actually important, the fact that you are a certified Google partner. So presumably if you're doing AdWords, it's kind of important to know that Google says you know what you're talking about. So that's something that I definitely promote to the top of the homepage as well. So for all of you, the general takeaway, especially in professional services of any kind, is the trust really needs to be packed into that top portion of the page, of the homepage. Okay. Let's talk about another form of trust, which we're seeing here with requestlegalhelp.com. And I don't want to take an informal poll, but if I did take one, and I said, how professional is this website? I'm guessing most of you would probably say, not that professional. In fact, it's a little bit on the dated and cheesy side. So I'm going to pick on the visual appearance of this site, okay? This looks like almost one of those park domains where, you know, it's like you're hoping to get some kind of monetization off of it, and maybe it is, But if this is really supposed to be a legal referral directory, then the production quality of it isn't working for me. And also it looks a little, the color scheme chosen is a little depressing. So when you have a black header and gray and kind of forest greens, it's a little bit of a heavy look, and it's not optimistic. It's I mean, I understand maybe you're trying to make it substantial, but I'd say it's kind of more industrial and oppressive in my mind, the color theme chosen. So be careful of that kind of stuff.
Now, I'm kind
If
of
you,
curious, Tim, and sorry to interject here, but
oh no, not at
I
all.
know the
Please jump
colors. So color schemes change, right? Like, and what are some modern colors that you're looking at that aren't overused, but that would be, sort of indicate that credibility and professionalism?
in. I don't know that I have. I'm not a color expert. I'm just again reacting to kind of the oppressiveness of it. It of course depends on the type of business too. If you want fast food, you know, you use oranges and reds and things that get your appetite up. If you want to be kind of professional, the default color is probably blue, but not a light blue, but kind of a medium blue or something like that, that shows stability, calmness, those sorts of traits traditionally. So it really depends on the type of business, but I was reacting more to the kind of the darkness of it combined with the very simplistic production quality. You have, I mean, even little details. So let me just point this out is, you know, you have a lot of horizontal lines. You have a gradient down this part. You have solid colors in here. You have a drop shadow on the box here. So there's a lot of little different effects. This is rounded as well, but not as with as big a drop shadow as the box. But the radiusing is only rounded on the two boxes and nowhere else. So it's like the little fit and finish details really do matter. And so I suggest these days there's so many good themes available and a variety of content management systems. So pick something that was already designed to hold together. But the main thing I would say about this one is there's some good things here, but the production quality is pretty poor. That's the main takeaway from me for this one. So, and the call to action, I'm a little confused because can't find what you need. You actually have a call me, but as you can see, it's hidden up there in that upper right corner. And usually when you have a web page on a desktop, the main diagonal is from upper left to lower right, like this. And anything that's off of that diagonal down here in the lower left or in the upper right is supporting information. So if you actually want them to call, and if that's a high engagement kind of response mechanism for you that you can easily convert because those are all the super interested people, that toll-free number should be repeated in the body of the page somewhere really large, that 800 number. So you say you can either call us or, you know, find an attorney online. And again, going back to the trust idea, 1 million requests, you know, 1 million attorney connections made since 2001. You might want to show the types of law, right? So even if you don't know what they're looking for, I mean, you have that in your Dropbox. That's actually the very first thing that you ask them to do is select an area of law. But that's a complete and comprehensive list. And using the rule of 80-20, they're probably 20% of law practice areas that are 80% of the traffic coming to this site. So you might want to actually, instead of making me search inside of a Dropbox, actually put those out. We cover all areas of law, including the following, you know, divorce, car accident, whatever, you know, evictions, whatever tax law, whatever disability, workers' comp. Those are probably kind of the more common ones, I would guess. And so you want to actually show them somehow that you're comprehensive. So trust, we've been around. Yes, we have a lot of transactions, but they're not just requests. They're, you know, connected people to over 1 million attorneys. You know, that sounds a lot more powerful. And then also, if you, I know this is probably just lead gen, but if you can close the loop and get some testimonials on here of people saying, hey, yeah, I needed a personal injury attorney and I found one in 15 minutes with request legal help. something, a few testimonials would go a long way here, because the security seals you're using down here in the lower left, Techno Lawyer and GoDaddy verified, those don't really mean anything to your average consumer, if you will. Okay, well, I'm going really fast and I'm going to continue. Again, if this is your site I'm looking at, or if you have other questions, please put them in the Q&A pane, and Fred will tee them up for me. All right, let's look at this one. Continued, and it's a cute play on word, it's continue ed. And I like this for the reason that it actually tells you what it is. Although I'd like to see that, since it's a headline, to be more headline size. Right now it's not, for example, bolded, it's not bigger than the other text on the page, like down here. So high quality online continuing education that fits your schedule and budget. It's a little long, I'd probably cut off the for the life of your career part, but basically you're telling me what this is, and this is something that's often very overlooked. When I land on the page or on the site, the first thing I want to know is this site right for me? Is this going to help me? So you're telling me, but I would like it to be more specific, okay? Because online continuing education is really, really broad. However, when I scroll down the page a little bit, I don't really get that you guys truly cover everything. You're not like Coursera or something, or Udemy. You have, looks like kind of, I would say, the helping professions, training, early childhood education, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech pathology, and those are great. But you should actually make that part of your headline. Online continuing education for the helping professions. And then this part should be moved up higher, this block of 6 different main subject areas that you cover. And so that's, try to be as niche as possible. Think of it this way. When someone's on the web and they stumble onto your site by accident or through a paid ad, there's going to be this continuum of reactions. On the one side, I guess you could say, you have like, what is this place? I have no clue if this is even right for me. On the other side, you have this feeling of, yes, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Where have these people been all my life? I'm so lucky to have found this. Right on. So most of the time, we actually spend our time on the left side of the spectrum here, more in clueless land. So the more specific you can be, the more it's going to resonate with your target audience. The more they're going to say, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So if your headline says online continuing education for the helping professions, or as tightly as you can say that, maybe it's not those exact words, then I'm all in, and that laser-like focus resonates for me because I'm in the target audience. And you don't have to have it be more general, because it doesn't matter. If I'm looking for auto mechanic continuing education, you don't have it, so who cares? That's not for me. So be as specific as you can. And I'll say even one more kind of important thing on that. If 90% or more of your stuff comes from a tightly focused area, and then you have a bunch of miscellaneous stuff, have the miscellaneous stuff on the site. I'm not saying don't, but don't talk about it in your headlines. Okay, the headline should focus on that sweet spot, what's in your wheelhouse.
Tim, we have a question from the audience. So the question is, would you recommend continued reduces the size of the image banner to bring, quote, join thousands into the fold on a 15-inch screen?
Yes,
so yes. So by default.
Yeah, great point. So there's no reason the headline can't be here in the image. The 6 subject matter areas can be, here in the image, because in a way, I want to learn more about what? Well, I want to learn more probably not about the continue ed in general, but about, okay, I want to learn about continuing education for athletic training. So if that was one of the 6 areas up here, then I could just click through on that and get to a very, very specific part of the site. So that banner it doesn't have to be made smaller, but you can pack a lot more into it. The headline, the 6 areas, perhaps some trust symbols or certifications or accreditations that you have, the number of clients, how long you've been around, all of that can be packed in there. So it's not necessarily that banners are a big waste of space, only if they're empty. So you can, without making it seem crowded, pack more information in there, especially regarding trust. And I want to say a word about navigation, because these generic kind of learn more calls to action, I mean, we've all seen them, and that's not the point. The point is to get me closer to my goal. And so if you draw me a map of the world and you say we have these 6 subject matter areas available, then I know what's possible here. And just by that one click of going to athletic training, I'm getting closer to my goal. And to you, they're again, courses, continuing education in the helping professions, but to me, they're not, because if I'm a speech pathologist, I can tell you, I don't really care about your athletic training, not at all. It's very unlikely to have an intersection of speech pathologists that are also, high school athletic coaches or something like that. So just get out of my way, let me get closer to my goal, and think of your homepage as a kind of a map that shows me a map of the world, and the desired action is navigation. It's to get off the homepage. Okay. All right, let's go on. This is a local business, Colonial Classics. Apparently it's landscaping garden supply in Indiana. Now this page has a common problem that we're going to see again on other pages, and that is motion. As you can see in their little, in the little areas where they have the kind of client testimonials, they have motion. They slide from left to right, motion. Every couple of seconds, there's movement there. And it's bad for a couple of reasons. It's bad because I don't even have time to read what's in the testimonial. And second of all, motion hijacks all attention. We're designed to react to motion. I mean, if we didn't, we'd be dead, because the bear would have eaten your great-great-grandmother. You wouldn't be here. So we pay attention to motion. And every time something moves in our visual scene, we can't help but look at it. So the static graphics on this page, even though they're dominant and big, still can't stand up to the motion. The text on the page, as they say in New Jersey, forget about it. Okay, so think of it this way: there's a visual hierarchy. There's text, there's static graphics, and there's any kind of motion. And think of text as a little firecracker, graphics are like a hand grenade, any kind of motion is like an atomic bomb being set off on your page. It's going to just wipe out everything in its blast radius. So don't use motion unless it's very, very intentional. In other words, if your button's blinking or shimmying or doing something and that's your call to action, you want to intentionally draw attention to it, do that, that's okay. But not just this kind of gratuitous motion. A lot of times I've also seen these kind of scrolling, or rather looping video backgrounds, and just because you can doesn't mean you should. So think about consciously controlling attention on your page, and any kind of motion pretty much makes that impossible. So I would go back right now and look at if you have motion anywhere on your on-site experience and take a hard look at why it's there. Let's go a little deeper into the site. They sell a bunch of stuff here. Let's just say bald and burlap shrubs and trees. They're 30% off, I get that. But then the page just goes to a special offers page. I thought that was navigation to get me to those bald trees. And so I can't really find anywhere on this page more information, for example, about the kind of trees you have. So it's really important for you. I know you have a whole garden supply store, but at least, again, your most popular products, that you kind of do a hierarchical navigation. Stuff we sell, I mean, it seems pretty basic. We sell flagstone and wall stuff, and we sell these bald shrubs and trees, but what kind? Is it only the kind I'm seeing in the picture? That's the impression I have, and you're not giving me a lot of variety or choice. So it's a little bit of confusion on the navigation. I clicked on the bald trees, I got taken to a special offers page where the bald trees picture appears again. But I still have gotten no further in understanding what kind of bald trees you carry. So I think it's important for you to get some decent shots, either on your own facility or just clean photographic shots from elsewhere that represent the major categories or plants or products in each of your category areas. The other thing is I want to touch on the production quality. It's not quite the same as that legal lead gen site. And I see what you're trying to do there with the green, the shades of green in your theme, your color theme. But again, I'd say just from a production quality standpoint, this needs a bit of a tune-up visually. Okay. Fred, any other questions or thoughts you want to add?
Sorry,
I'll take that as
no, I agree.
okay.
Maybe the only thing I would say here, like the 25% off sort of sits right in the middle between the two images. Like visually, once you start scrolling, it's like, wait, are the shrubs 25% off, or is it the thing below it that's 25%?
Right. So when you see it right here, for example, is it the stuff above or the stuff below? Yeah. You might want to actually incorporate that into the images. That's one way to solve that problem. Absolutely right. I think though that, again, since you're local, I'm guessing somewhere there nearby you in Evansville, Indiana, there's probably a Home Depot and they have a garden center, or a Target with a garden center, or some big box store. So since you're local, I would really play up the local angle, how long you've been around. Show me the family that owns it or the staff that works there. I'd start with, from a positioning standpoint, I'd actually use that as a strength. We're the local people that care. We're approachable, where you don't have to wander down the aisles and hope you'll find somebody with an orange apron to help you. So yeah, I would play up the local stuff. Okay.
And Tim, we have a question that came in from the audience. So you mentioned about diagonal being top left to bottom right. How do you feel about having a call to action in this case, and in many cases in top right of the page?
Yeah, so that's a great point. So I recommend a belt and suspenders approach. Here they have a phone number, and that is where you expect to find a phone number, by the way. That's kind of the conventional places, the upper right for it, so that's fine. But if you really, really want to emphasize that, I would say instead of our mission on the homepage, you might want to slap that phone number in there again. It's like, talk to one of our local landscape experts and call this number. Okay, and this is especially true on a, of course, if you're on a mobile device, you want to make sure that the response mechanism or the call to action is appropriate to that medium. So if I were to skinny this up for a second and do the kind of mobile version, if you will, it's a good thing is it's responsive. It's got a hamburger menu, but exactly in the mobile view, I would want that click to call thing right there. So in addition to the collapsed hamburger menu that you're seeing, you want to put a click to call thing to make it easier. And I'm not sure exactly what will happen if, oops, don't want to do that. Ask an expert. Well, look what happens on a mobile device when I ask an expert. I get a contact form. And I'm on a phone. So what do you think I want to do on a phone when it says ask an expert? I want to probably call somebody or talk to somebody right away. So make sure, and then that, I don't know what it's doing here. When I clicked on the phone number, it says open Zoom meetings. I don't want to do that. But make sure that your phone number when in the mobile view becomes a button, so it's clear that it's clickable and will initiate a call to action. Don't leave it looking like text like we do over here. Okay, that looks like text and non-actionable, and someone on a mobile device would have to think about it, either remember that phone number or switch apps and try to type it in or cut and paste it into the phone app. In any case, it's mechanically a lot harder to pull that off. So you want to make sure that in the mobile view, your phone numbers are clickable. Call now. I don't even need to know the phone number because it's going to show up in my dialer. Click, talk to an expert now. Call us now. You don't even need the phone number in the mobile view.
And this is one of those things, right? So I'm an Android user, so I know if I were to partially highlight that phone number on my Android device, it would basically know it's a phone number, tell me, hey, do you want us to call that? but I haven't
Mm-hmm.
used an iPhone in quite a while, so I don't know if that happens there or if it's one of those situations like you're saying where you now have to remember the number.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess also remembering that maybe not everyone has the latest version of an Android or an iPhone, right? And so the experience that we have personally with these types of websites may not be what some other people have, and designing for that maybe different set of users.
Yes, exactly. So the two kind of high level takeaways are, one is make sure you have the appropriate call to action. In other words, a phone call and ask an expert on mobile is really a phone call. It shouldn't go to a form. And then also that you make the mechanics of that easier, that you make it clear that it's clickable and the phone number is on a button and that sort of thing, so that it works and it brings up the dialer on the phone as a result. Perfect. Let's move on to Gather's website, and I was specifically asked to review their demo landing page. So this is probably pretty typical of, Fred, I would guess a lot of your customers where they're aiming their traffic at a specific direct response page. But I'm going to actually back up here for a second, and I'm going to show that the home page just as a contrast, because unless it's a direct response campaign, I'm going to land on this page first, on their home page. And you can see that there's a very different look here. So I wanted to call that out. This is a white page, whereas this is a reversed out page. And you see if you went from one to the other, if you actually went to the Gather homepage and then clicked in the upper right on the Book a Demo button, then you just did a switch, a complete reskinning. One was white with navy lettering, navy blue lettering. The other is navy blue with white lettering. So it's kind of the same color theme, but not really, because something changed. And I have to tell you that that little transition is a little bit of cognitive dissonance or friction in the mind of your visitors. They go, uh-oh, did they take me off to some other website? And those kind of things are a real concern for people. And I think you have to be very, very careful when you do that. So I'd say stay with the same color scheme throughout your site. It's okay to emphasize things using reverse background colors or something like that, but not to wholesale swap out the whole kind of inverse color scheme like that. Okay. All right. Now, one of the things that I want to point out some problems with this that are common to a lot of landing pages. One of the first ones is I want to look at the messaging. Okay, let's schedule a time for a demo. Submit your info to schedule a demo. Submit request. To me, that's really, really kind of wishy-washy language for a couple of reasons. I don't need instructions to tell me to submit your info below, because that's what forms are. And then the form language itself is submit request. Now think about it. I want a demo of your software. Let's even assume that's true, which I think is a very late stage thing. We can talk about that separately in terms of where it is in the buying funnel. But let's assume I really, really want a demo instead of just watching a short video that would show me how it works. Okay, but I want to actually talk to you. That's like your dream. They're going to talk to one of your salespeople, right? And what are you telling them? Submit your request. That's your call to action. Tiny little letters, the lowest contrast thing on this page, probably reverse white letters on a corn silk blue button, tiny font, and it says submit request. Now, what does that even mean? Oh, yeah, I'll submit my request and it'll sit there forever, and I have no idea if and when someone's going to get back to me. Do you see what I mean? It's really kind of a milk toast and unspecified. And what do I get out of it? Whenever you have a direct response page, I'm going to kind of redraw this. You should think of it as we at my former agency, Site Tuners, used to call the Holy Trinity. Okay, and that is number one, your page headline. Number two, your form subheadline. And number three, your call to action. Okay, those should be hierarchical. The first thing should tell you what this page is about. The second thing should tell you what you're asking for in the form. And the third thing should be what you get out of it. So if I were to kind of rewrite this Holy Trinity on this page, I would say you know, find out, or how to make your next event run seamlessly. Schedule a live demo with an expert, and then instead of submit request, schedule my demo now. Okay, so do you see how we're just kind of tightening it up, and it should be much more powerful and direct, and tell me what exactly is going to happen. Any thoughts or comments on that, Fred? I know you've probably seen a lot of.
The thing this is all great stuff, but the thing that confuses me about this page when I first saw it, not having come here before, is that the visual seems like a scheduling software, which it kind of is.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of washes together with, okay, we're going to do a demo, or is this like, I'm just confused.
Yeah, is the point of this page that's a calendar on the page, or is that the actual product in action? And also, just as a quick word to all the software folks out there, no one wants to read your tiny little screenshots on your landing pages, okay? Unless you're gonna have them blown up and explained in a video course with zoom ins and things like that, and that's how you do your demo. That's fine if you actually want to step them through it, but no one without getting eye strain can even read that graphic. And by the way, you know what it looks like? Something really complicated, and that's not exactly encouraging. If you're saying it's easy and it's seamless and it's easy to do events now, just look at our complex interface, and that puts the whole thing, that calls it out as a lie, essentially, because as a visitor, that looks complicated to me. That does not make my life easier. So don't lead with screenshots. Not a good idea at all, even if you're selling software. But
once
so
we get to our website, I will be guilty of that one too.
Yeah. And so be careful of that. What I would say is, instead, on a demo request page like this, you know what you should be selling is the value of the demo. Okay. This demo really helped me. So the quote should be about the demo. So this demo really helped me, instead of that quote. Okay. Trust symbols, again, to tell me how many other companies are using this software, or the number of users, or so on, or accreditations, or things like that. And then you should list out as bullet points what you get out of the demo. We will walk you through, do a 5-minute interactive walkthrough. We will answer all your questions. We will prepare a custom quote for your company. So what you're selling are the features of the demo itself, if you will. Okay.
Yeah, and I'm happy you went to the actual homepage here, because that helped me understand what this page is about. And so I'm kind of curious too, like, what ads is this coming from? So hopefully the ad has really explained what you're going to be getting from this page, because the page itself, I think, is really telling you, hey, we're here to give you a demo, but like a demo of what? And I guess that's what you're saying, right? Like,
yeah, exactly right. So this is a key thing that you need to understand, is like, so you have your home page, and you're assuming that they navigated down to your demo page, right? And then there's all the other pages sitting off on your site. But if you're using this as a direct link page, and you're doing a pay-per-click ad that's landing them there, remember that these side doors become your front doors. So the question you should ask yourself is, okay, I might have said in the ad, get a demo of our event planning software, and that was clear. And then you come to this page, but does this side door provide enough of the context to make the decision to even get the demo? In other words, you may need to backfill it with some additional trust issues. You may need to put some of the stuff that's on your homepage perhaps on here in an abbreviated form. So you have to create some context. Think of it this way, like you're a parachutist and you're trying to land somewhere, and at night, and you just crash through the roof of a house, and you end up in the middle of a room in the dark. Okay, now, is there enough information here for them to do their thing? Because every page that's getting traffic, whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, go look at your analytics. Every reasonable traffic page that's an entry page, so look at your entry pages, is in effect a home page. Does it have enough context for me to either get to the right part of the site from there, or create enough trust? You can't just say, here, take this action. This is really stripped down, and it doesn't, if you direct land on here, I don't think it's going to work.
It's about preserving the scent of the query, right? So you typed whatever into the Google search engine, and then you saw those same words repeated in the ad text, and now you want to see those same words repeated again on the landing page. And that was to your point that the cognitive dissonance is much less if you kind of have that thread that's common.
Exactly right. And as opposed to a very generic headline like this, we're here to serve you. Well, okay, that's nice. Let's schedule a time for a demo. Well, again, from the Department of Redundancy department, that's what you're asking for on the form. Let's schedule a demo. So that's not new information. So it's kind of a wasted opportunity. Instead of setting context, you're just mechanically asking for something. Yep. All right, let's go on and look at this page. So this is for, looks like, again, an agency, local search optimization. This one, first of all, strikes me as, again, I'll say production quality. I'm not impressed. Even little things like being able to have, okay, you have a box of some sort. This one has a drop shadow on it. That's the only drop shadow I see on that page. This one has no drop shadow. It's a solid box, or maybe it does. Let me scroll down further. Nope, no drop shadow on that one. And then a bunch of local directories you submit to, but that one was clearly kind of low resolution and black and white and cut and pasted, you know, with different backgrounds on those logos. So not a lot of care was done to put that graphic together. And then in this logo bar here, this is good, this is credibility stuff, but if you look at these as a row of things, they don't line up. They're different sizes and they seem to have different tops or bottoms. You know, if things really can't be done with different height, then you should, I mean, if they have to remain different heights, then what you should do is the center line of each object should be centered. Whereas this Up City logo at the bottom here, I mean, it falls off. It's the lowest thing in that list because it's the tallest. So production quality, I'm not getting a real good feeling. That trust is being squandered. It's also very text heavy. Again, I don't know if this also operates, since this is a search optimization firm, as a SEO text, but that's a lot of reading. And then there's, I guess, kind of this gratuitous graphic. I would prefer, in a lot of cases, if you're not going to have a wider banner that you're going to pack full of other useful info, that having this distracting background graphic, get rid of it completely. Look, it's taking up about 1.5 inches of vertical space. It's also low resolution. It's totally pixelated at the size of my 4K monitor. I'm looking at it here. It also makes the text hard to read because it's got white text on grayscale background that's photographic. So there's really no reason. Just make a clear page headline. You know, that's all you need. But the other thing is, I'm a little unclear on what the calls to action are. It's pretty jumbled. There's all these, it was a white page with 1, 2, 3, 4 different color blocks dropped into it, but presumably the call to action here is either this red block or this white block. And there's a problem with each of them. So when you design calls to action, remember, they need to kind of pop off the page or be clear. So if you really want me to run a listing report, check your business listing here isn't a button. So again, just even being clear on the fact that you want me to click on something. You did draw my attention there. It's a red box with big white text says run a listing report. That's an imperative, a command for me to do something. But the call to action, I'm presuming that's clickable, doesn't make me want to click. Yeah, it is clickable. The whole box is clickable. So, but make it a button so it's clear that, you know, run your free listing report or something. It should be really standing out. And the other one, it's your generic kind of lead form here. And if you look at it, the problem with this one is it's completely floating in space. Look, even by drawing a little yellow box around it, do you see how that tightened it up? It's really having a hard time competing with all those other solid color blocks on the page. So that's the form that needs high contrast. That's the form perhaps that needs reverse color text. And I'm not seeing that power in that form. It's really floaty. Let me erase the box so you can see what I'm talking about. It's probably the least noticeable thing on the page. You combine that with a gray button, which also said get started, which is really wimpy, and then a poor title. need local SEO or marketing for your business? Yes. Okay. But what does the form get me? It's unclear. Talk to a local SEO marketing specialist next business day. Now I have a reason to fill out the form. And then the button would say, schedule your appointment. Not get started, but something specific. What's in it for me? What do I get out of it? What happens when I push that button? Okay. Something else that I noticed on here that I see on forums pretty often, there's this CAPTCHA thing. I don't know if you can see that. It's a little small, but presumably once I fill out the form, it's going to make me do some weird decoding to make sure I'm not a robot. There are plenty of options out there that will not require something that crude. There's ways to tell if something's a robot. There's all kinds of little background code that can run that can prevent 99% of those problems. So don't put extra hurdles in front of people filling out their form. It's bad enough that, yeah, they have to fill the whole thing out, but then to have some proof that they're not a robot is really obnoxious and doesn't help them at all. Frederick, have you seen that before?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sort of, if you get a lot of fake submissions from robots, for those good ones that come through, make the effort to put it in less on the user is probably worth it. Just have your sales team filter it. Just like you said, you have ways to automatically detect motion on the page that's human, not robot. So definitely do that.
Yeah, so one is like, so you can detect it automatically, and even if a few slip through, you should be able to do data post-processing, malformed names, URLs, improper emails that are on blacklists. You should be able to filter that stuff out before it even hits your salespeople or your marketing
And then
people.
the other thing, Tim, is how much information do you ask for, right? So here clearly you say the full name and the email is what's required.
Mm-hmm.
And I just have to fill out 2 form fields. Might be more likely to just go and do that. And then as you become, and the point is probably to talk to a sales specialist or talk to someone on the team, and they can collect the company name. I mean, it's like if you're really picky about who you're going to work with, and you're literally going to ignore someone if it's a non-known company name, then you won't ask for it. But in this case, are you really going to do all that much different? Probably not, right? You still want to talk to them and then maybe funnel them to the right sales team or support team.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly right. I would say that you hit on a very good point. In my landing page optimization book, I have what I call the form field test of whether a field should be on a form in the first place. And it's a two-parter, so you might want to jot this down. Is this information absolutely necessary? That's part one, to complete the current transaction. In other words, does it need to be collected now? So can you stage it? Can you do progressive disclosure and find that out in our next interaction? So if it's talk to a business specialist, okay, we'll get back to you to schedule it. What's your name and email? Those are the only required fields on this form, like you said. Okay, can you find out my company name and my phone number by interacting with me by email or the website URL? Absolutely. That can be done via an email exchange. Or
and
when
then,
you,
sorry, so a question came in.
Mhm.
You have the name of that other solution for CAPTCHA. And so the person is explaining that probably the reason for putting the CAPTCHA on is because they want to have higher lead quality.
Mhm.
And that is in the context now of PPC, right? Because they're running a smart display campaign and there's a lot of volume from it, but probably not that many great quality leads.
Mhm.
And so there's probably some conversion tracking happening on the page after you click get started. And so the PPC system is measuring a lot of quote unquote conversions that aren't really conversions. And I think that's what they're trying to combat.
Right. And again, I'm not saying you should have, crap quality fake robot leads. I'm just saying there's more elegant ways to handle that, either by detecting it without requiring CAPTCHA or by post-processing and cleaning it up before you look at it. Those are the solutions. The point is, don't put the load or the burden on your visitors, on the real
Right.
visitors.
And so I don't know what the name of the solution is, but I think WordPress login uses it. So there's basically a checkbox, a very simple checkbox that says, I'm not a robot.
Yeah,
And
that's
that,
if you must have it. Yeah, there are dozens of different ones out there. A lot of them are just free JavaScript code and little snippets that you put
okay.
on in the page or in the form. So
And I
I'm
think the
not sure.
website owner here is telling us that technically this is an invisible CAPTCHA with no action required by the customer.
Well, in that case, I'd make that text 3-point and white, the word CAPTCHA. So that doesn't even come into my awareness because that's also kind of a technical, nerdy term. Most consumers don't know what that is. So why burden them with it, even thinking, what is that thing? And is the form broken? Is that a misspelled word? Are we speaking, I don't know, Brazilian Portuguese all of a sudden? Is that
Um,
a tropical
it does.
drink? I don't know.
And thank you to all the website owners who submitted these. I know we're picking you guys apart, but hopefully this is helpful and we do it with love, right? So.
Yes, so if I have to say that again, my point is to kind of put in as much good stuff as I can into this webinar. Hopefully you're not finding it too harsh. All of this is meant with love and so that you can fix these problems and make your campaigns more effective. All right, let's keep going. We have one from, I think, an auto dealership website and Bruce Auto Group. I'm not sure where these guys are based. I don't need to know, but this one is exactly what we're talking about with visual stuff. For some reason, I'm going to reload the page here so you can see it. There's a rotating banner on the page. Actually, if you look at how many there are several rotating banners on the page because they're numbered. These little discs will click from one to another to another. If I did that, it looks like there are about 10 frames in that. And they're really complicated visual ads that are just flying by. I can't read them, can't understand them, and they're capturing all of my attention. And then there's another gratuitous graphic in the background. If you look at kind of just the image of the smiling, happy people, we can't avoid looking at people. We have a special part of our brain that's just devoted to looking at people's faces and seeing if they're a threat, a potential mate, whatever, but we don't ignore people. So this is kind of the worst of all, really strong visual elements, people in the picture, rotating motion, banner ads, so I'm completely unclear on just what to even do on this page. It's kind of like a visual assault, first and foremost. So this site could benefit from stripping things away, getting rid of motion, and so on. If you really want me, if the key here is to browse inventory, which is on the front and center here, that part's great. Okay, so browse inventory. You might want to just start with a simple button, which is, am I looking for a new or used car? Okay, what kind of car? That would be the next step, and so on. And to just do it via progressive disclosure, one question at a time, instead of even having this radio button on the left and then the select of the cars in the middle. But the key here is, I think, to get rid of all of the noise and the visual distraction on this page as much as possible. If we go down the page, the page actually becomes a lot cleaner, right? Build your next car and set your payments from home. I mean, I actually like, there's this one part here of, basically like, what can you do here? You can buy a used car, you can buy a new car, or you can do parts and service, right? And so what am I there to do is probably the homepage. In addition to the trust stuff, how long you've been in business, how many cars you've sold, what makes you sell. What I'd want is basically navigation that's task-based. What are you here to do? Buy a new car, buy a used car, or service and parts. Okay, it's going to be one of those three, because that's financing, for example, falls into buying. So that would be instead of on the nav bar, it didn't just come there for financing. Financing is tied to a used car purchase or a new car purchase, for example. So you don't have to have that in the top nav. So new, used, or parts and service. That would be repeated in my page itself as 3 clickable areas that are clear. That's your navigation. And then if I'm looking for a new car, you'd see then the part on the page that's below is actually becoming useful because you have a car builder. So I can kind of customize my own car, but that obviously only applies to new cars. And so that would be on the next page. Okay, with new cars, do you want to browse our inventory or do you want to build your own car? Again, task-based navigation. How do you want to do it? What are you there to do and how can we help you? So I think it's a clarity and a focus on the visitors and what they're trying to do, and doing by navigation by their task is probably going to go a long way towards making the site clear. But again, I'd come back to the trust. Presumably this is a local dealership. I mean, it exists somewhere, and I can visit it also. And so you can talk about the number of years you've been in business, your client success rate, repeat purchase rate of your former buyers, because you're family owned for over 3 decades. But I didn't get to that until I had to scroll way down the page past all of that other distracting stuff. So I would actually show the family, and you do. There they are. Okay, I'm assuming this is the Bruce family. Not the best picture ever. It's on a gray day, shot from below, poor lighting. So take a professional shot of the family and the staff around them. Gather up all the staff on whatever your annual picnic day is, and take a good professional shot. And this is being part of the Bruce family. Okay, so.
They are based in Canada, so I don't think they ever see blue skies. So that might be.
Okay, fair enough. Nova Scotia, huh? So yeah, I live in San Diego, so I'm a little biased. All we have are blue skies, it seems like. So, and 23 degrees for you Canadians, 23 Celsius, average year-round temperature. Sorry, Fred, I had to slip that one in.
Sorry, Paul.
All right, let's take a look at another site here. This is an e-commerce site. Put it up here, and I'm going to reload it. So one of the things that you'll notice, or maybe by reloading it, I made it go away. No, I didn't. Okay, so take a look in the upper left. A lot of you have these things. Now I'm on Chrome browser, and when I came to this site, it did a little blocker. It says, KB Authority wants to show notifications. Well, why do you want to interrupt your visitor with an experience like that? That's really annoying. So you probably haven't noticed this too much because you've already said allow or block at some point and you're not seeing it when you're visiting your own site. But if you have anything like that, try it on a new browser, get rid of that. You shouldn't have to ask to show me notifications. 99% of sites get along just fine without that requirement. So that's a big no-no in my mind under any circumstances. If there's something that requires push notifications or something like that, that would be a very rare circumstance. Now look, what's the next thing that happened? We spent a few seconds on the page and we got another pop-up. Now this one is for 15 to 45% off on your next order. Now, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to build your email list and spam me forever. But think about it from a visitor's perspective. Again, I have not even looked at your site yet. I don't know if you have anything I want. So why would you put an interruption thing that disturbs and annoys 100% of people in front of me? Unless the economics of your email collection is such that you're clearly making money, but you shouldn't do this. And I would say be really, really careful when you say, yeah, we're making money because we get emails and eventually somebody buys off of those that email spam that we hit them with subsequently. Yeah, that's true, but what you're not looking at is the bounce rate on this page. If you take a look at how many people are not direct buying from you by staying on your site, in other words, there's a trade-off usually between these annoying interruption-based pop-ups and people actually staying on the site. If you quantify that versus the value of the emails you're getting, you're very often in negative territory. So if it makes business sense, good on you, as the Australians say, but if you might want to take a hard look at the economics, because I've seen lots of cases where this doesn't work and is counterproductive financially. All right, but let's go on to the next page. Again, rotating banner ad, enough said on that. Please don't do that.
So sorry, Tim, I'm going to do a time check here. I know people may have to run, and I know you have a special offer. So do you want to show that?
Yeah. So thank you all. I think we're going to end on the hour. I would have liked to do more of these, but perhaps we'll repeat this, Frederick.
Yeah, no, I'd love to do this again and do all of the sites we didn't get to today.
Yeah, and I hope again you didn't think I was too harsh. I'm just trying to squeeze a lot in. One thing I want to do is offer to the folks on the webinar is I do an hour-and-a-half expert review that's recorded and interactive. You get to ask questions, and then a half-hour follow-up after you make a round of changes. I am gonna, Fred has asked me to do 5 of these at a $2,000 optimizer discount. So you actually save $2,000 on the review. And I'll give 100% money back guarantee, so there's no risk here at all. If you hate my review at the end of it, just tell me, Tim, you suck and I didn't learn a thing, and that's good. But otherwise, go to timash.com, your baby is ugly, and when you check out, use the code OPTIMIZER. That's only good to the first 5 people that order reviews. So once you know that that's available, hopefully you got a lot out of the webinar. Fred, again, thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you for doing this. I learned quite a bit that I'm going to apply to our website. So hopefully everyone else got the same sort of takeaways. And it was fun. So yeah, let's do it again. And we'll send out an email for the next one and we'll request your URLs that time again. We'll be posting this on YouTube. So if you think your friends might benefit from this, send them to the Optimizer YouTube channel. And then reach out to Tim directly on timash.com. So thanks and have a great rest of your day.